In this lesson, we're going to be adding text to our homepage design. We'll tackle headlines and body copy, making sure we choose a typeface that is going to set us up for success throughout the whole project. When choosing a typeface for digital projects, I like to keep two main things in mind. Accessibility for the user, and what that means is the type comfortable to read, especially at small sizes when you're choosing something for body copy? And is it accessible for the client? And what that means is it easy for the client and developer to get a hold of whenever they're building out your designs? And for that reason, I like to go with Google fonts more often than not. Of course, if I'm working with a client that really wants to lean in to their brand and have something a bit different going on, specifically with headline fonts that appear at bigger sizes and can afford to be a bit more unique, then you can absolutely go and look at fonts on Creative Market, or maybe your client already has a font in mind that they're using for their brand. But more often than not, I like to stay pretty simple and make things easy for everyone involved. And Google and other free platforms have tons of available fonts for free. So for this project, I've chosen Poppins. And the reason I've chosen that is because A, it's very easy to read, especially even at small sizes. And B, it's got lots of different weights and styles. So we're going to be able to use it across our whole project and really get some great variation and hierarchy going on with our typography. Google fonts are actually preloaded onto Figma, so you'll see all of them here under the font options, as well as any fonts that you have already on your machine. So this means that you can download any font you want from the internet, and then if you just close Figma and open it back up, you will see it in this list here. This is for the desktop app. However, if you are working on the browser, then you will need to download one of their font installers to help you access fonts from your machine in your Figma files. Now, when it comes to deciding what weights and styles to use where inside your project, what I like to do is take the first page that I'm designing, in this case for Fernie, it's our homepage, and really use it as sort of an experiment. So later on, we're going to be creating a style guide. So by that point, we'll want to have some of our styles for headlines, body text, and that kind of thing set in stone so that we can create the style guide. But for now, we can stay fairly open and just kind of experiment and see what's going to work best. With that said, let's start with the hero section. So I'm just going to hit T on my keyboard to bring up a text box, and I'll just type in what I want the hero section to say. So we'll do crafting your perfect haven. That's pretty nice, but obviously it's very small. For a big headline like this in the hero section, I'm going to do something like 72. And I feel like this looks a bit long, and we might have some elements over here on the right later. So I am going to bring this in a little bit. Let's just, for the sake of, simplicity, let's make this text box 700 wide. And then I'm going to give us 80 pixels of space on the left and 60 on the bottom. I feel like that helps us sort of nestle this in here really nicely. And I do like how semi-bold looks. I think bold is just a little too much. Medium doesn't stand out quite enough on the background. And semi-bold is feeling good to me. As for line height, let's start off with 72, the same size as our text, and see what that looks like. Yeah, that's definitely a little bit too close. You can see the lines are almost touching, which I don't like. I like for them to feel close in a headline, but not too close. So let's see how 80 feels. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay. Looking good. Now let's just copy and paste this down here. For now, we'll make it black so we can see it. And let's create a headline for this sort of product preview page here. So I know right off the top, I want it to be smaller than this because we want for the hierarchy to be, this here section first and this product section second. So we don't want them to be competing. So let's do 60 pixels here. And okay, 60 pixels feels good for this. And if we're going to do 60 pixels, then the line height can be a little bit smaller. So let's do maybe 72. Okay, pretty good. Now let's just write a headline for this. Discover unparalleled furniture designs. Nice. Okay. It's still feeling a bit too big to me. Instead of 60, let's go with 42. There we go. And if we do 42, we can do like 50. And this line height is definitely, or this line length is definitely awkward. So I think we need to make it a bit smaller so that furniture goes on to the next line. So let's try 500 pixels. Yeah, that's good. And yeah, we want it in line with this first product image. So we'll play around with the spacing exactly later, but for now, this is looking pretty good. Okay, and the last thing we want to add text to for now is this section. We want this to sort of be an About Fernie section. Okay, so we'll have a headline here, About Fernie. Let's make this 32. I think that will be a little bit better. And then we will have sort of a bigger text box here for some body copy. So for body copy, I'll usually go between 14 and 18 pixels. Let's start with 16, see how it looks. And we'll switch it to regular. I think that's pretty good. And then our line height can be maybe 24 for this. We'll see how that looks. And I've just grabbed some text from Google Bard. You can also use ChatGPT. I literally just asked it to generate some like about page copy for a modern furniture website called Fernie. And so that is exactly what it did. So that's just kind of a good hack if you don't have any copy to work with yet from your client, and you want to make it feel realistic. I'll always use sort of like generative AI for that as opposed to using Lorem Ipsum because I just want it to feel real. And I think that really helps get your ideas across as a designer is the more real you can make something feel, the better. Okay, so yeah, our line height of 24 is looking good for this. For body copy, I always like a longer or a taller line height because if you can see here, when it's too small, it just feels really hard to read. So yeah, I think 24 is a good sweet spot for this. And that's about it for this lesson. On this page, we still need some text that's going to appear in the header nav as well as the footer, but in a later lesson, I actually want to create those as responsive components since they're elements that we're going to be using across all of the pages of our site. So we're saving that for later, but in the very next lesson, we're going to be adding color to this homepage to make it feel just a lot more branded and comfortable to read.